Look closely at your dinner plate. That isn't nature, it is a genetically mutated lie born from dying dirt. We are literally eating converted oil to stave off mass starvation. Watch until the end to uncover the terrifying, completely synthetic future secretly keeping humanity alive. Close your eyes for a brief moment and deeply visualize this scene. Imagine the heavy, suffocating scent of a cramped, humid room. There sits a solitary man, his hands heavily scarred, forcefully prying open the jaws of a highly venomous reptile, manually stuffing prey down its throat. One slip of concentration, one reflexive strike, and the venom in his veins becomes a death sentence. It is visceral, agonizingly slow, entirely manual, and dripping with mortal peril. Now, open your eyes and look at the terrifying spectacle unfolding on the other side of your screen. An endless, blindingly white ocean of millions of geese marching in eerie, synchronized unison like a biological army. Above them, colossal wheat harvesters, towering like steel skyscrapers, roar across the plains, mercilessly devouring fields that stretch far beyond the horizon. The contrast is absolutely staggering. It is a psychological shock to the system. What you are witnessing is not merely a difference in scale, it is a terrifying leap in human evolution, a desperate race against our own extinction. At Nluvuong 04 warmly welcomes you to a journey that will completely shatter your perception of reality. If you find yourself captivated by these dark, hidden truths of human survival, please take a second to hit that subscribe button to support the channel, giving us the massive motivation needed to uncover more mind-bending realities for you in the future. For generations, society has relentlessly romanticized the concept of agriculture. We have been spoon-fed the idyllic, poetic imagery of a humble farmer walking behind a trusty beast of burden, breathing in the crisp morning air, deeply connected to the earth. Let me be brutally honest, that romanticized delusion is dead. When humanity is staring down the gaping, insatiable maw of 8 billion human stomachs, poetry and romance are the most utterly useless concepts on this planet. Take a look at the sheer scale of consumption in nations like China, where an unfathomable 100 million tons of meat vanish into the human digestive system every single year. Do you honestly believe that praying to the heavens for rain or scattering seeds by hand like our ancestors did could possibly sustain this monstrous, endless appetite? The global food supply chain is a delicate, tightly wound mechanism operating on the edge of a knife. If that chain misses a single beat, if it fractures for even a week, society as we know it will violently collapse into primal chaos and starvation. The ultimate existential vulnerability of the human race is not nuclear warfare or climate collapse, it is sitting quietly right there, resting on the dinner plate in front of you. Therefore, today, we must fundamentally tear down and rebuild everything we thought we knew. Erase the antiquated word, farming, from your vocabulary entirely. Welcome to the relentless, unforgiving era of mega farming, the global super farm. Modern agriculture is no longer about lovingly planting seeds in the dirt. It has violently mutated into the heaviest of heavy industries. It is no longer governed by the seasons or the unpredictable mercy of Mother Nature. It is commanded by artificial intelligence, dictated by the cold, unyielding logic of big data, and executed through ruthless algorithms and ironclad discipline. In this high-stakes arena of global survival, nobody looks up at the sun to predict the weather anymore. Instead, they stare blankly into glowing screens of real-time data, utilizing unprecedented technological force to squeeze nature until it bleeds, forcing the earth to manufacture survival and spit out endless profit. To truly comprehend this violent transition from the dirt to the data, we must step directly onto the factory floor of this new agricultural world, where living organisms have been permanently reduced to nothing more than biological machinery. Step inside one of these modern megafacilities, and the sheer scale of sensory deprivation will freeze the blood in your veins. We are no longer raising animals, we are manufacturing protein units on a biological assembly line. Picture a windowless, climate-controlled warehouse spanning the length of several football fields, illuminated by artificial ultraviolet glow, where tens of thousands of genetically identical fowls are packed shoulder to shoulder. They are not creatures of nature anymore. Through decades of relentless genetic manipulation, we have hacked their biology, forcing their breast tissue to grow at an explosive, unnatural rate, so fast that their fragile skeletal structures routinely collapse under their own mutated weight. They live their entire brief, miserable existence without ever feeling the warmth of natural sunlight or the texture of real soil beneath their claws. This is the brutal mathematics of efficiency. Every ounce of feed, every drop of water, every breath of filtered air is calculated by artificial intelligence to maximize the conversion of grain into flesh at the lowest possible cost. The exact same ruthlessness applies to our crops. When you look at a sprawling, 1,000-acre cornfield, you might see a beautiful, waving ocean of green, but through the eyes of the mega farm, it is a rigidly controlled, patented biological factory. Every single stalk is a genetic clone, engineered in a sterile laboratory to withstand lethal doses of toxic herbicides and exude its own built-in pesticides. The towering mechanical harvesters that dominate these fields are completely autonomous, guided by military-grade GPS satellites, executing their harvest with millimeter precision. The human farmer has been evicted from the tractor cab, replaced by algorithms that monitor soil moisture, drone imagery, and predictive weather models. We have effectively stripped the soul out of the harvest, replacing the ancient, sacred bond between man and earth with a cold, hyper-efficient industrial process. It is a masterclass in human ingenuity, an awe-inspiring testament to our ability to bend biology to our will, yet it carries a profound, lingering sadness. We have turned living, breathing ecosystems into sterile spreadsheets, viewing life purely as a commodity to be optimized, harvested, and consumed. We pat ourselves on the back for eradicating mass famine in the developed world, but we refuse to acknowledge the deeply unnatural, Frankenstein-esque reality of the food we blindly put into our bodies every single day. Yet, this absolute mechanical dominion over the natural world extracts a hidden, terrifying toll that the glowing data screens conveniently refuse to display. Beneath the tires of those colossal autonomous tractors lies a silent, unfolding catastrophe that threatens the very foundation of human existence. The dirt itself is dying. We treat soil as if it were simply a physical anchor to hold roots in place, a dead medium waiting to be pumped full of synthetic enhancements. But true, healthy soil is a living, breathing microcosm, teeming with billions of microorganisms, fungal networks, and vital nutrients that took the earth thousands of years to naturally accumulate. In our desperate bid to force the ground to yield impossibly massive harvests year after year, we have waged a chemical war against the earth. We drench the land in an endless cocktail of synthetic nitrogen fertilizers, neurotoxic pesticides, and heavy herbicides. While this chemical bombardment forces the crops to grow with explosive vigor, it systematically annihilates the biological life beneath the surface. The earth is being hollowed out, transformed into a lifeless, dusty sponge that merely absorbs the petrochemicals we inject into it. What you are looking at when you see a modern megafarm is an illusion of abundance, entirely propped up by the fossil fuel industry. Without natural gas to synthesize nitrogen fertilizer, our global crop yields would instantly plummet by more than half, sentencing billions to mass starvation. We are quite literally eating converted oil. Furthermore, by planting millions of acres of genetically identical crops, a practice known as monoculture, we have created the most fragile ecosystem in the history of the planet. Because there is no genetic diversity, a single, rapidly mutating superpathogen or a resilient swarm of pests could theoretically sweep across an entire continent, entirely wiping out a staple crop in a matter of weeks. We are walking on a tightrope without a safety net, balancing the lives of 8 billion people on a highly unstable, chemically dependent system. The rivers run toxic with agricultural runoff, creating massive, suffocating dead zones in our oceans, while our topsoil blows away in the wind, depleted of the organic matter that once held it together. We are borrowing heavily from the future, cannibalizing the Earth's long-term habitability to satisfy our immediate, ravenous hunger, praying that the bill never comes due in our lifetime. As the Earth is systematically stripped of its vitality to sustain this fragile illusion, new, invisible warfare is quietly being waged over who dictates the flow of these vital calories. Forget the romantic notion of the independent, self-reliant farmer, Today, the individuals working the land are little more than heavily indebted sharecroppers laboring under the crushing weight of a feudal corporate system. The true masters of the modern global food supply do not wear overalls, they wear tailored suits and sit in glass boardrooms thousands of miles away from the nearest field. A terrifyingly small handful of massive, transnational conglomerates now hold a near-absolute monopoly over the very building blocks of life. They own the patents to the genetically modified seeds, dictating exactly what can be planted and where. If a farmer attempts to save seeds from one harvest to plant the next year, a fundamental human practice that has existed since the dawn of civilization, they are sued into oblivion for intellectual property theft. These same megacorporations control the agrochemicals required to make those seeds grow, the heavy machinery needed to harvest them, and the global distribution networks that transport the final product. The farmer is trapped in a vicious, inescapable cycle of debt, forced to buy proprietary inputs at exorbitant prices just to keep their heads above water. But the danger of this monopoly extends far beyond the plight of the rural worker. It has morphed into the ultimate geopolitical weapon. In the modern era, calories are the new crude oil. Nations have awakened to the chilling reality that whoever controls the grain controls the destiny of the world. We have seen borders aggressively slam shut and grain shipments weaponized during times of global conflict, instantly triggering bread riots and government collapses in nations utterly dependent on imported food. The global super farm is not a charitable endeavor designed to feed the hungry, it is a cutthroat arena of leverage and subjugation. When a superpower hoards millions of tons of soy and wheat in strategic reserves while smaller nations face empty shelves, it becomes agonizingly clear that food security is synonymous with national defense. The intricate web of global supply chains is intentionally designed to enrich the middlemen, leaving the vulnerable populations at the absolute mercy of corporate profit margins and volatile geopolitical chess games. We are living in a deeply unsettling reality where the decision of whether a family in a developing nation gets to eat dinner tonight is dictated by algorithmic high-frequency trading on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Faced with poisoned soils, monopolized seeds, and a global population that refuses to stop multiplying, humanity is now preparing for its most radical, desperate escape act yet. We are standing on the precipice of a completely synthetic era, an epoch where human survival will require us to sever our final, fragile umbilical cord to the natural world. The harsh reality is that the Earth simply does not possess enough arable land or fresh water to sustain the projected 10 billion human beings that will soon crowd this planet. Traditional megafarming, despite its brutal efficiency, has hit its absolute physical limit. So, the architects of our future are pivoting away from the sun and the soil entirely, moving agriculture indoors into sterile, hyper-controlled laboratories. Welcome to the dawn of precision fermentation, cellular agriculture, and massive vertical farms. We are literally learning to print our food. In the very near future, the meat on your plate will not have required the slaughter of a conscious animal, nor will it have grazed on open pastures. It will be grown from a single stem cell, cultivated inside colossal steel bioreactors, fed on a diet of synthetic amino acids, and harvested as pure, untainted muscle tissue. Vast skyscrapers of food will rise in the centers of megacities, growing genetically tailored crops under purple LED lights, utilizing aeroponic mists that use 95% less water than traditional farming. Weather, seasons, and soil quality will become completely irrelevant variables of a forgotten past. This technological leap is nothing short of miraculous, offering a theoretical utopia where we return millions of acres of ravaged farmland back to the wild, completely halting the machinery of animal slaughter and ecological destruction. Yet, there is a profound, chilling existential weight to this transition. By synthesizing our food in laboratories, we are acknowledging our ultimate failure to coexist with the biosphere that birthed us. We are retreating into a closed, artificial loop, completely isolated from the chaotic, beautiful rhythms of nature. The apple you eat will be perfect, devoid of blemishes, nutritionally optimized by an algorithm, but it will be a product of human engineering rather than a gift from the earth. As we race toward this synthetic horizon to avoid mass starvation, we must quietly mourn the profound loss of our primal connection to the planet. We have survived, yes, but at the cost of becoming a deeply unnatural species, floating in a sterile bubble of our own making. So, the next time you sit down to a meal, look closely at the food in front of you. You are not just looking at dinner, you are looking at the culmination of the most desperate, brilliant, and terrifying evolutionary struggle in the history of humankind. In tracing the violent evolution of our global food system, we confront a chilling reality: our survival as a species has come at the absolute expense of our connection to the Earth. We have transformed living ecosystems into sterile biological factories, stripping the soil of its vital essence to sustain an illusion of abundance heavily subsidized by petrochemicals. This relentless pursuit of extreme efficiency has consolidated unprecedented power into the hands of a few transnational monopolies, turning essential calories into geopolitical weapons and reducing independent farmers to mere cogs in a corporate machine. As we face the physical limits of our exhausted planet, humanity is being forced into a radical, synthetic future. We are rapidly transitioning from harvests dependent on sun and rain to precision fermentation and lab-grown sustenance, effectively severing our final biological ties to nature. While this technological pivot offers a miraculous escape from mass starvation and ecological collapse, it demands a profound existential sacrifice. We are ensuring our physical survival but risking our very humanity by retreating into a controlled, artificial bubble. The journey from dirt to data is not just a story of agricultural innovation, it is a stark reflection of our desperate, brilliant, and deeply flawed attempt to dominate a natural world we were originally meant to coexist with. We have conquered famine, but we must now reckon with the deeply unnatural, synthetic reality we have engineered to do so. The ultimate lesson we must extract from this is that unchecked mastery over nature inevitably leads to profound vulnerability. When we view life and the earth merely as commodities to be extracted and optimized, we hollow out the very foundation of our own existence. To apply this to your daily life, you must actively rebuild your lost connection to the food that sustains you. Start by consciously tracing the origin of your meals. Seek out and support local farmers markets and regenerative agriculture initiatives that prioritize long-term soil health over short-term maximum yields. Reduce your food waste to treat every calorie with the respect it deserves, and gradually shift your diet toward whole, locally sourced foods rather than heavily processed, industrially patented products. By making intentional, informed choices with your wallet, you reclaim your autonomy from the corporate food monopoly and cast a daily vote for a food system that nurtures the earth rather than destroying it. If you had to choose right now, would you fully embrace eating lab-grown, synthetic food if it meant saving the environment, or do you prefer traditional, naturally grown food despite the ongoing ecological challenges? Please take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments below. We would love to read your perspective and see what the community thinks. If you found this deep dive meaningful, please hit the subscribe button. Your support is exactly what motivates us to keep researching and creating high-quality, thought-provoking content for you.